hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm here today to present, I believe, a paper about our works on finding the burials and cemeteries from the World War I. It's the research conducted by our university, but also in a cooperation with non-professionals who we invite our work to share with us, with their knowledge, with what they know they can help in our work. And some of them are also co-authors of this paper. So if you ever go to Poland, well, of course, I'm talking those who are from abroad, if you'll go to Krakow and drive from the city, just outside of the city, you'll start to find beautiful prepared cemeteries organized by Austro-Hungarian Grave Commission between 1916 and 1918. Some of them were planned by most fine artists and architects of the Austro-Hungary. But the situation is not the same in the whole southeast of the country. In the area of the eastern part of the Lower Beskid and Bieszczady, you will find literally nothing. This is why a few years ago, on a social demand, we started a project which has two main branches. One of it is to study, to restore the memory about the forgotten, neglected World War I events. And another one is to attempt to preserve the heritage as a counteraction to its destruction throughout the illegal exploration, which is a very big problem now in Poland. Just to give you a view, in the last 2 seasons, on one of the places which we're studying now, on the 100 meters of the front line, we found about 12 graves, 12 bodies of the fallen soldiers. Only one of them was not destroyed by the metal detectorists. We have like 2 main branches of the project. One is to study the battlefields and try to see how the reports are discussing the fights, how this reflects to what we see in the ground. Another branch is to search and verify the presence of the war cemeteries lost in the landscapes in the last 80 years. This research is conducted, carried out regardless of the state of the conflict, religion, of the fallen soldiers, and also without distinction between the military and civil heritage, which, of course, the fights were not took place in a vacuum. There were people living there, so if we approach the civil heritage, we are also documenting it in the same way as we document this military heritage. The sources of our project, we decided at the very beginning to try to build a full picture, as full as possible. So we are basing on the memoirs, on the history books, but of course the most important part, beside the field work, are of course documents from the archives for the fights, for the study battlefields. The most important are the Russian archives, which can be reached online, and also the Kris archive. And for the study of the cemeteries, for this part, we are very thankful to our Ukrainian brothers that even this darkest hours of Russian invasion, they allow us to work in Lviv archives, which keep the archives of former voivodeship, who take care of the cemeteries in the interwar period. Of course, one of the most important aspects is the LiDAR data, which is studied by us to find any kind of remains of the trenches, installations from the battlefield. It can be it's still preserved in the landscape. Then we are doing our field job, which mostly in this part is connected with walking into the mountains and verifying if such places are really connected with the World War I or maybe with the World War II or even the post-war clashes. To look for the graves, we are very often using the phosphatus method, which is very simple spot-on technique, which shows us if there is an accumulation of phosphatus elements in the ground, which comes from the case of the probably bodies of the fallen soldiers. And all of this are, of course, combined in a GIS database, which allows us to further analysis of the battlefield or to look for the symmetries. And we because this project really started from the public demand to pass our knowledge from our project to a society. So we were organizing, for example, a meeting for the teachers of the history from the schools located nearby the battlefields. We were organizing the meetings for the local society and mountain guides to tell them what we're finding, why we are working in this place, just to bring those cemeteries, those events back to life. And where we are working. The most important place of our work is here. It's the southeastern end of Poland, between the borders with Slovakia and Ukraine. This is the eastern part of the Lower Beskid and the western part of the Bieszczady Mountains. And in a few last years, we also began to work around Kraków, to the north and northeast from the city, where almost 110 years ago, it took place in November 1914, a large battle took place. This area, about Bieszczady and Beskid Niski, looks really beautiful. It's a hilly region, full of wildlife, but believe me, 8 years ago, this area looked completely different. What's the historical background behind our work? Bieszczady and Beskid Niski was a large battlefield between the January 1915 and May 1915, when from the one side the Austro-Hungarian military was trying to break the front line and free the fortress of Przemyśl, which is here. I don't know why they came to the idea that the easiest way to do it is to march about 100 kilometers to the really hilly region towards without almost any roads, any railroads towards the Przemyśl. This is from the one hand. From the other hand, the Stavka, the Russian highest command, decided to launch the operations here to break through the passes and attack inside the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. They believe that if they will jump through the mountains and the Cossacks will start to charge the lowlands, they will be unstoppable. We have 4 major operations, one in almost one each month, which resulted actually with pushing the front line more to the today's Slovakia, but without breaking it. So both sides actually did not reach their targets. After the war, the clashes, after these operations, the area again get into the Austro-Hungarian hands, and from 1916, the Austro-Hungarian Grave Commission started its work. So every part of the front line was divided between commission regional branches, and then to the lower levels. Each of the level has its commander and the main architect, and they were developing the cemeteries. What was the scale of this project? So in the area of Kraków, as you can see from the slide here, we had about 8,000 square kilometers of the area, and they need to move approximately 60,000 bodies to the cemeteries. But in the lower Beskid, let's say in the area between Dukla Pass and Lviv, more to the east from Lviv, they had to move about 1 million bodies. So this was really a tremendous job to do. They were working to the very end of the World War I. The last report we found was from the September 1918. Approximately 600 bodies, over 600,000 bodies was exhumed and buried in the places, but only approximately over 20% of the cemeteries were actually finished. Most of them were just arranged, but not finished anymore. How the cemeteries looks today? It's just a meadow. In fact, without any crosses. Why this happened? First of all, the projects were not finished before the end of World War I. But what is more important is that after the World War II, there was a displacement of the local population from this area and the destruction of what they left behind. As you probably know, Poland was shifted after the end of World War II more to the west. This resulted in making the social vacuum in the new areas like Ostprussen and Lower Silesia, where the Germans were expelled, and we need to find new people to live there. So we moved those who were living in the east to these regions, but also people from these areas here, which were actually inside of new borders, were also expelled and moved to the west. Why? Making the long story short, I think there is no place here to discuss it in a greater details. We have a very long history with our Ukrainian brothers, and I will just focus on some facts here. So at the very end of the World War II, in autumn of 1944, when the front line pushed back the Nazis from these areas, Red Army start to take the people, mostly of the Orthodox tradition, to the areas of Ukraine, to settle them there. In response to that, the Ukrainian insurgent army start to attack the Polish People's Republic forces and the Russian Red Army to stop this process, and also to prepare the land for the erection of the Ukrainian state. To counter that, some politicians decided to expel the local population, Orthodox population, which were believed to be Ukrainian population. Nobody cares that today, together with the Ukrainian population, also Lenko and Boyk and other ethnic groups who were just taken from their homes. They were they get like 2 hours to pack their stuff and were pushed to the railroad stations and taken to the west. After the killing of General Świerczewski, this operation was formalized. It was called Operation Vistula and resulted in displacement of a few 100,000 of Orthodox people to the western parts. And of course, what they left behind was very often destroyed, like for example, some churches which were dismantled and the stones and wooden planks were used to strengthen the borderline between Poland and Soviet Union. This is why today there is nothing left. Believe me or not, walking to the forest in Bieszczady, very often they can, deep in the forest, for example, fall down in a well, because this is anything what was left after the villages which were destroyed then. So with those peoples, all the destruction of these places, everything was totally flattened. The people were, they cannot came back to their places. Also the memories about such things like war cemeteries also vanished. So what we are doing, we are trying to find the places which we find information in the scattered archive documents and then look for it and verify its presence. We are using UAVs for real photography to make deems, to compare with the archive plans. We also use orthophotography for the excavation documentation and ALS to study the battlefields and such burial places. Very often we start from the plans or drawings. We also have the reports about how the works of bringing bodies and organizing the cemeteries looks like. What was the stage each month, and then we're trying to find such places, looking on ALS, then making deems or look on the crop marks to find such places. Here you can see the cemetery in Zubeńsko. Very often such works are followed by the GPR studies, and then we are just sounding that such places, because of course no sense to excavate all the cemetery. We just need to prove the government that such place is really a cemetery to start the legal protection of this place, and what is happening now also the rebuilding of it. So in case of Zubeńsko, we found that really this was there was a cemetery. The bodies here you can see they were exhumed about 2 years after the death of the soldiers, so they are not in the full order. And this is the photo taken just 3 weeks ago after the end of our excavations there, the second year of excavations there, and you can see the white lines are the lines left for the people who will be then rebuilding the cemetery to make to erect the burial places again and install the crosses. The same happened, for example, in Łupków, and other case, making the long story short, this is a place called Krąglica. You can see this is the open source LiDAR data, so we decided to make our own scans, which are far more precise. And please keep in mind, focus on these two areas here. As you can see, there's a very nicely preserved trench. Actually, it was done by the engineering troops of the 29th Infantry Division in February 1915, because the commander thought that they will be pushed back by the Southwest troops. What happened at the end of a march, and those places looks like backfield, and really we found their bodies of the fallen soldiers, actually in places where they were fighting and where they died. What's the future of our project? We just obtained new data from the Kris archive in Vienna. You can see the part of it here. These are the maps made by the engineering troops in the May and June 1915. So after the clashes, we are talking here about the area of Kraków, where they marked out every trench and every grave, actually, which was left after the fights. So now, using the UAVs, we are during all the year we're taking the photographs of the certain areas to look for the crop marks, to look in differences in humidity of Earth. We also to plan to make the thermal imagineering, in forthcoming months to try to find for the places where the military graves still are in place. Thank you very much for the attention.